starting a new book. Oh, I also want to say that tomorrow I can't be here. So we won't have unless you can make a special arrangement with Rabbi Yosef, I won't be able to do the Rashi study tomorrow. So, yeah, I won't be tomorrow afternoon. I won't be here. Okay. Unfortunately, I wish I could, but I can't. Everything is okay, thank God, but I just can't do it. I'll tell you afterwards. Okay, so chapter 1, verse 1. The book of Bamidbar. Vayidaber Adonai al Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'ol moed b'echad al-chodesh hasheni b'shana hasheni l'tzitzah me'eretz Mitzrayim le'mor. Now these words, which I always read, they read totally different to me. Because where did God speak to Moshe? In the Sinai wilderness. That's where I was. The Sinai desert, which today is called the Sinai desert, that's not Sinai. That was called Sinai in like the year 500 by some empress. She just named it Sinai. The Sinai wilderness is Midian. That's where they were, because that's right next to Har Sinai, and Har Sinai was in Midian. So it says God spoke to Moshe in the Sinai wilderness. So in that place, by the way, if there ever was a term desert, that's the term. There is nothing there. It is just desert. Although now, what's his name? MBS, he's building the city of the future there called Neom. So he's turning the wilderness he's making the desert bloom. Ben Gurion would be proud. So, so it says God spoke to Moses in the Sinai wilderness in the Ol Moed in the first day of the month of the second month of the second year, which they went out from Egypt, saying. So what does it mean? Vayidaber, Rashi says, Hashem spoke, mitoch chibatan lefanav monel sam. Because what's about to happen is that we're going to be counted. The next verse is going to tell us that Hashem says to Moshe to count the Jewish people. Why do we've already been counted on the day we left Egypt and after the golden calf? Why does Hashem have to count us again 3 times in 1 year? So the verse is saying because of God's dearness, because of Israel's dearness before God. So just like, if you have money in your pocket and you're excited about it, you count it again and again and again. Maybe not money, maybe not cash, but maybe something, jewels or something in your pocket, a very precious possession, you count it again and again and again. When they left Egypt, Menon, he counted them. It says that in Exodus 12:37. When they fell to sin of the golden calf, Menon, he counted them. He wanted to determine the number of those who remained after the sin of the golden calf. And when God wanted to rest his divine presence upon them, Minam, he counted them. On the first day of the month of Nisan, Mishkan was built. And the first day of the month of Iyar, he counted them. And so that's what is going on here. The Mishkan has just been built. The Mishkan has just been built. And so now Hashem is counting them. Yes, Jerry, you had a question?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought you unmuted because you had a question. Okay, so then second verse says, Se'u es rosh koadas b'nei Yisrael, lift up the heads of the whole community of Israel, and mishpachosam, v'beis avosam, for their families, for their households, the mispar shemos, by the number of their names, kol zachar l'gulgulatam, every male according to their head count. Rashi says, l'mishpachosam, to know the number of each tribe. The Torah doesn't record the population of each family, it gives the total for each tribe. So that's what Rashi is saying here, to tell us the number of each tribe. So that's our goal. Misha aviv mishevet echad, mimo mishevet acher yakum al shevet aviv. Somebody whose father was of one tribe and his mother was from another tribe will take his name and be counted with the tribe of his father. By their head count, Ayedei shkalim, bekel ogogos. They were counted. Each head was counted by a shekel, 1/2 shekel. That's how they counted. And then Rashi, the verse tells us, "Min ben esrim shana v'ma'al, 20 years old and up. Kol yotzei tzava b'Yisrael tifkedu otam." Whoever went out to the army, you should count them with tzivosam, according to their armies, atav Aaron. So they were counted by the number by when they went out to service. You're only counted from once you could serve. This tells us, "She'en yotzei b'tzava pachot mi ben esrim." You don't go out to service less than 20.
They only counted the men.
They only counted the men. Yeah, only the men served. Even though the Mishnah tells us in Tractate Sota that the women, if we were being attacked, even the women would go out from the wedding to serve. But here we're being told that only the men served. And with you shall be one man from each tribe. A man who is the prince of his father's house. So we'll be with you, each man, one man from each tribe, a man the head of each father's house. What does that mean? So each man, so Rashi tells us, when you count them, you shall be with you. Nisi kol shev v'sheva. You need one prince, one representative from each tribe when you do the count. Why is that? Why do you need one representative from each tribe when you do the count? Because, what would you say?
In the army, it's accountability. You're in charge of your men.
So to tell that the princes that they're in charge. I was thinking about it a little differently. I was thinking we want to have transparency because the census can be political, because they're going to divide up the land based upon the number of people in each tribe. You're going to divide up the land. You're going to apportion it. So you know how censuses today are very political. Who gets counted, who doesn't, who gets to vote, who gets to be part of it.
So if they stretch the truth, you know who to hold accountable. Is that
Basically, yeah, you could, you have one tribe because each of the tribes are in a sense competitors, just like there's only 435 seats in the House of Representatives. So each of the states are basically competitors, right? To see which state gets the most number of seats. So they're competing.
But also, isn't there something about representation more broadly? This is a people made up. It's like if you think of going back to the US now, it's the 13 colonies. You didn't have somebody from each of the 13 colonies representing this new nation, right? Then it wouldn't be the full nation. So this is a way of saying someone has to be there from every tribe. So this is who the people is.
Yeah. So that's exactly the point. With you, so with Moses and Aaron, you're going to need one prince from each tribe. Of course, this causes problems for Moshe Rabbeinu later on, when this one person from each tribe causes all sorts of problems during the sin of the Meraglim, of the scouts. Then this is going to cause major problems then, when they start thinking that they were in charge, when really Moshe Rabbeinu didn't really want them to be in charge.
why strong leaders never empower their deputies?
Kind of, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Look at Israel right now. He's never given anybody enough authority to come close to him.
Right.
So as soon as they get powerful, he cuts them out.
Well, I don't know that whatever, maybe he's not the best example, but yeah, but you're right. That's like, you cut them out. So these are the names. These are the men. But it's not really true about Moshe. Moshe did empower his deputies. Aaron and Joshua were empowered. Just the next level weren't empowered. The next level, these princes were not supposed to be empowered. His two deputies he empowered, Aaron and Joshua.
And this is totally different than the system of judges that was set up under Yitro, right? That's completely different. Remember, Yitro told them to gather the leaders of the.
So it seems to be that that's totally different, but right, because Yisro, here there's just one person from each tribe, and Yisro had it divided up amongst the people, like 10, and then 100, then 1,000. not necessarily from each tribe, but it's not necessarily different. It's not necessarily in conflict, it's just different. Yeah,
Those are more political leaders, those were more judicial, like they were making decisions.
It doesn't tell us how these men are selected. God didn't select them. Actually, no, it seems to be like God is speaking to Moshe. God is selecting them. It says this is still part of God's speech to Moshe. These are the names of the men who will stand with you. So God is telling Moshe who to pick.
These aren't necessarily the direct descendants of the brothers.
Yeah, but everybody's direct descendant from the brothers here. So it's telling us who the tribes are. Reuven, Elitzur ben Shteor, from the tribe of Reuven, Elitzur. Shimon, Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shaddai, from Shimon, Shlumiel. Yehuda, Nachshon ben Aminadav. About Nachshon, we know something about him in the Talmud. Talmud tells us in Sota last week that Nachshon was the one who jumped into the waters. Yisachar Nesanel ben Tzuar. It was Vuan, Eliyav ben Chelon, Yosef, Bnei Yosef, Ephraim, Elishama ben Amiyud, Menashe, Gamliel ben Pidatzur, Vinyamin Avidam ben Gidoni, Dan Achiezer ben Amishadai, for Asher Pagiel ben Achron, Gad al Yosef ben Nuel, and Naphtali Achira ben Enan. So these were not said in birth order. The Talmud discusses in Sota also the order in which their names appear here, but it's not chronological order. And then it states in verse 16, Ele Kruea Eda, Nisiei Matos Avosam. These are the summoned ones the princes of their fathers' tribes, Rashi Alfei Yisrael Haim. These are the heads of Israel's thousands. These were the summoned ones of the assembly. Hanikraim. These are the ones who are summoned, called Devar Chashivut, for every matter of importance, Sheba Eda. Meaning to say, it doesn't mean that they were summoned like summoned for duty, but rather means that these were the ones who, whenever there was a important gathering, they were the ones who were the Kriyei Aida, they were the representatives.
Sefaria uses the word in English, the elected of the assembly.
So
But I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's who they're taking.
who elected them? Elected, I don't know, it depends how you define the word elected. I mean, the word elected to me, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't know what the word elected means.
I think it's interesting. I think your point that God is telling which one, because there probably were different sons. By this point, there's different sons, different cousins, different. I mean, there could be a lot of leaders of each of the tribes, and he's picking which one.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tribes. There's definitely a lot of family dynamics. For sure.
He's saying which one should be from each tribe.
Yeah. And then it says, Vayikach Moshe v'Aaron Esan Hashemay. When Moshe and Aaron took these men, Asher Nikvu b'Shemot, that were designated by name. Rashi says, "Son Hashemay Elah, Eshnei Masar Nesim Alo." He took these 12 princes, Asher Nikvu, who have been designated. Lo Kan b'Shemos. They designate Moshe here b'Shemos, by their names. Okay. Verse 18, and the whole congregation he gathered in the first day of the second month, and they gave birth according to they gave birth by their families. They gave birth on Mishpachosam by their family's name according to their father's households. B'mispar shemos, by the number of names. So what does this mean? This verse, the whole congregation gathered there on the first day of the month of the year. When they established their genealogy according to their families from their father's names, according to the number of names. So what does this mean? Rashi tells us. They brought their documents of lineage. And they brought witnesses to the status of their birth. Everybody brought their yichus books. They brought their lineage books in front of Moses. Every single one was to prove his ancestry. Now realize, it's one thing in America to say, okay, if you want to establish who you are, that you're a Jew in Israel, bring your yichus book. But these people had all left Egypt. This is 1 year after they left Egypt. So they all went out from Egypt together. They had all been slaves together, but they wanted to make sure that nobody snuck in. They had to make sure nobody snuck in. So then, what does it mean? So that's what was going on. Okay, so they all had to bring their lineage books to prove which tribe they belong to, because again, there's a lot of money at stake here. You are getting property, and this property will be yours forever. When they divide up the land, it'll be yours forever. You can't sell it. I mean, you could sell it, but it's just temporarily. It's eternal property. So it's very important to be able to make sure you get it right the first time. There's no second chances here. So God counted the Jews in the Sinai wilderness, which is exactly where I was a week ago, or maybe 10 days ago. So now, okay, I'm not going to read all this for everybody. You can read it yourselves, but I just want to read the number of people in each tribe. From the tribe of Reuven, there was 46,500. Tribe of Shimon, 59,300. The tribe of Gad, 45,650. Tribe of Judah, 74,600. The sons of Yissachar were 54,000. The sons of Zevulun, 57,400. The sons of Ephraim, 40,500. Sons of Manasseh, 32,200. Benjamin, 35,400. Dan, 62,700. Asher was 41,500. Naphtali was 53,400. Okay, so what we noticed from this, by the way, is that the tribe of Judah was the biggest and the tribe of Benjamin was the smallest. This got a little political when Judah and Benjamin ultimately had a civil war a few years later between Saul and David. You see from here that Benjamin was the smallest. So
Wasn't Menashe smaller?
Menashe was smaller. You're right. Menashe, very good. Menashe was smaller. But Menashe, you can justify because Menashe, Benjamin was, is one generation below. Menashe, you really have to look at Menashe and Ephraim together, and then it's 70,700. It's almost as big as Judah. Right. So it's not exactly fair. Okay. Verse 44. These are the ones who Moshe and Aaron counted. When the Siyei Israel and the prince of Israel, 12 men, ish echad beis avosav hayu. 1 man from each tribe. Vayu kol pekudei bnei Israel beis avosam, miben 20 shana v'mala, and then all of the people counted from 20 years old and up. Vayu kol pekudim, all count was 603,550. 550. Now, by the way, it's pretty amazing that they had this count. You have to assume that there must have been some error. You can't count 603,550 without any human error. It's impossible. But that's what they said. Okay. The Levites were not counted amongst them. Why not? So it doesn't say. Now we're going to say. God spoke to Moses. Do not count the tribe of Levi. Do not count their heads amongst the children of Israel. So he says, the tribe of Levi do not count, and their heads you shall not count amongst the children of Israel. She says, why not? They're the legion of the king. They should be counted by themselves. They have to be counted separately. They're the king's guard. Or God saw, or God foresaw, that in the future there will be a decree against everyone who was counted. God saw in the future, in the sin of the spies, that everyone who was counted 20 and up would die in the wilderness. God said, let the Levites not be included. They are mine. They did not sin in the golden calf. So the Levites were not included in that decree.
Rabbi, this may be a stretch, but is there any connection between the status of the Haredim when the state of Israel was founded and not having military service?
Right.
In this passage, and these are the Levites, so it's not a perfect comparison, but has anybody appealed to this sort of as a precedent?
For sure, people try to refer themselves as the tribe of Levi. Chabad refers themselves as the tribe of Levi also. Like they say, our job is to serve the people. We're serving in other ways, not. But it's. I don't think anybody would be. I don't think the objections to the Haredim not serving would be as intense if they were actually serving the rest of Israel instead of just sitting in their own kollels and studying by themselves. Like if they said, we're going to go out there and do national service by teaching in the schools, I think the objections would be, I'm sure there would still be some objections because you always want, but they would be much less intense. People would be like, okay, that's national service. But Jerry, what? Chabad is serving internationally. Yeah, Jerry is raising his hand patiently.
Question: do you think that the count ends with a 0 is a way of rounding for errors in the count? It's impossible to always end a group of people with 0 as the last digit.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's not probable, and it does seem that way that they were rounded off. And some of the commentaries say that they were rounded off to make that point, that make the point. But yeah, it's an interesting point. Yes. So now it states in chapter. In verse 50, now count the Levites on the Mishkan of the testimony and on all of the utensils. Count the Levites over the. Now you shall point, not count. Appoint the Levites on the over the tabernacle and all its utensils. And everything that belongs to it. They should carry the Mishkan and all its utensils. And they shall minister to it. They shall camp around the Mishkan. So now what does Rashi say? You shall appoint the Levites, kitargumo, like the Targum says it, money, appoint. Rashon minoi srara means appointment to authority. Al davar shehu mimunalav. So it means appoint them. So and then the verse tells us, Uvinsoa Mishkan, Yoridu Osoa Levim, and when the Mishkan travels, the Levite shall take down the Mishkan. And we have 3 generations of Kohanim walking into our base medrash now, and a Levite. So that's what our verse is referring to. Yeah, we say when the Mishkan travels, then the Levites shall take down the Mishkan. And when the Mishkan camps, Yakimu also Halavim, the Levites shall lift it up, and the foreigner who comes close shall be put to death. So what does that mean? Yoridu also Katar Gumo. Like the Midrash says, Yifarkun, it shall dismantle it. Kesheban Lisa, when they journey Bamidbar from one place to another. Yifarkino so. So the Levites would take it down, and they would carry it until they came to the place where the cloud would rest. So the Levites were the job. Their job was to take it down, to carry it. They did this holy, sacred, spiritual service. By the way, this is something that you see from here, that to get involved physically in carrying anything for the spiritual camp is a great honor. And it's a very, very, very big honor to like carry the chairs, to say, Eliezer, I want you to hear this. This is a very big honor to carry the chairs, to set up the room for prayers or for Torah study, or to move the furniture around. you're actually acting like a Levite. If you do this for the yeshiva, or to do any manual labor for the Bnei Yisrael was something of a tremendous honor. We see this from here. It was only given to the holiest of people. Okay, so I will stop here. I just want to say before we stop that tomorrow